Could your favorite canned tuna be secretly harming your brain? If you've ever grabbed a can off the shelf without a second thought, you might be in for a shock. Have you ever noticed that some cans are much cheaper than others? Or that there are so many different varieties available? More importantly, do you know which one could be quietly loading your body with mercury every time you take a bite? That simple tuna sandwich you love might not be as harmless as you think. Today, I'm uncovering a hidden truth that the food industry would rather keep quiet. Not all canned tuna is created equal, and choosing the wrong one could be putting your brain health at serious risk. But that's just the beginning. I'm also revealing the 4 biggest mistakes people unknowingly make when eating tuna, especially the canned kind, and the hidden dangers behind them. Plus, I'll give you expert tips on how to enjoy tuna safely while maximizing its nutritional benefits. Are you ready for some eye-opening facts? Stick around until the end because after this, you may never see a can of tuna the same way again. But before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now tell me, do you eat canned tuna often? How do you like to prepare it? And where in the world are you watching from? Drop a comment below so we can get to know you better. The hidden danger lurking in your tuna can, what they're not telling you. Imagine this, you're in the grocery store standing in front of an endless wall of tuna cans. Some are cheap, some are expensive, some say light, others say albacore. You grab your usual can thinking you're making a healthy choice, but what if I told you that the wrong can of tuna could be slowly poisoning your brain? Sounds dramatic, right? But here's the thing, not all tuna is the same, and the difference could be silently impacting your health in ways you never imagined. Ever wondered why some cans are way cheaper than others? Or why there are so many different varieties? More importantly, do you know which one is secretly loading your body with mercury every time you take a bite? Let me introduce you to Mark, a fitness enthusiast who thought he was doing everything right. High protein, low fat, easy meals, canned tuna was a staple in his diet. Every other day, he'd whip up a quick tuna sandwich or mix it into a salad, completely unaware that he was making one of the 4 biggest mistakes people make when eating canned tuna. At first, everything seemed fine, but over time, he started feeling off, brain fog, fatigue, headaches that just wouldn't go away. He blamed stress, lack of sleep, maybe even his workouts. But the real culprit? The very food he thought was keeping him healthy. Today, I'm going to expose the hidden truth about canned tuna, the secrets the food industry doesn't want you to know. I'll break down the 4 common mistakes that could be putting your brain and overall health at risk. And don't worry, I won't just leave you hanging. I'll also share the best ways to enjoy tuna without harming your body. By the time we're done, I guarantee you'll never look at a can of tuna the same way again. So stick around, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more eye-opening health insights. Now tell me, do you eat canned tuna often? How do you usually prepare it? And where in the world are you watching from? Drop a comment below and let's get to know each other. The hidden threat in your tuna, how mercury ends up in your food. Have you ever stopped to think about what's really inside that can of tuna? We've been eating it for years, maybe even decades, without giving it much thought. But what if I told you there's something hidden in this fish that you can't see, taste, or smell, yet it could be silently affecting your health? That something is mercury, and it's more common in tuna than you might think. Mercury is a heavy metal that naturally exists in the Earth's crust, but the problem is that industrial activity has been releasing massive amounts of it into the environment. Burning coal, mining, and industrial waste have pumped this toxic element into the air, where it eventually settles into our rivers, lakes, and oceans. The real danger begins when mercury transforms into an even more harmful form. There are actually 2 types of mercury we need to be concerned about. The first is inorganic mercury, which is the kind released by burning coal and industrial processes. The second is methylmercury, which is far more toxic and dangerous. This transformation happens when certain bacteria in low-oxygen environments convert inorganic mercury into methylmercury, creating a potent neurotoxin that can have serious effects on human health. Once methylmercury forms, it enters the aquatic food chain. Tiny plankton absorb it first, then small fish eat the plankton, and larger fish eat the smaller fish. By the time we get to the top of the chain, predatory fish like tuna have accumulated dangerously high levels of mercury throughout their lifetimes. This means that not all tuna is safe to eat in large quantities. Some types contain much higher mercury levels than others, and for those with nervous system or heart conditions, excessive exposure to mercury can become a real health concern. So what can you do to enjoy tuna without putting yourself at risk? The good news is not all tuna is created equal, and some options are much safer than others. Stay with me because I'm going to break it all down for you and reveal exactly which types of tuna you should choose and which ones you might want to avoid. This is information the food industry won't tell you, but it's something you definitely need to know. The hidden danger in tuna, how mercury builds up in this ocean predator. Tuna is a fascinating creature built for speed and endurance, capable of traveling thousands of miles across vast oceans. But there's a hidden danger swimming right along with it, one that most people don't think about when they open a can or slice into a tuna steak. The problem isn't just the fish itself, it's what it eats along the way. Picture this. Deep beneath the ocean's surface, tiny creatures like plankton and small crustaceans drift along, completely unaware that they've already absorbed something invisible yet dangerous. Methylmercury. Small fish gobble them up, unknowingly taking in the toxin. Then along comes a hungry tuna, a top predator in the ocean, feasting on these smaller fish. With every bite, the mercury levels inside its body rise, little by little, meal after meal, year after year. Now here's the real issue. Methylmercury doesn't just pass through a fish's body, it stays, it builds up. Imagine a box where you keep adding things, but rarely take anything out. That's exactly what happens inside a tuna. While it can eliminate a tiny portion of the mercury it absorbs, most of it stays locked inside, stored deep within its flesh, and the older and larger the tuna, the more mercury it carries. So what happens when we, sitting at the very top of the food chain, eat that tuna? We take in all of that accumulated mercury too. It doesn't just disappear, it lingers in our bodies, and over time, too much of it can lead to serious health consequences, especially affecting the brain and nervous system. This is why doctors and nutritionists warn against eating too much tuna, particularly for young children and pregnant women, who are more vulnerable to mercury's toxic effects. The ocean is full of mysteries, and this is one of them, one that the average person never considers when making a tuna sandwich. But now that you know the truth, it's time to ask the right questions. Are all types of tuna equally risky? How much is too much? And most importantly, is there a way to enjoy tuna safely? Stay with me, because I'm about to break it all down for you. The biggest mistakes people make when eating canned tuna. Before you crack open your next can of tuna, there's something you absolutely need to know. Not all tuna is the same, and if you're not paying attention, you could be making a mistake that exposes you to dangerous levels of mercury. One of the biggest mistakes people make is not knowing the different species of tuna. Walk into any supermarket, and you'll find rows of canned tuna neatly stacked on the shelves. They may all look the same, but there's a huge difference between them, especially when it comes to mercury levels. Some are relatively safe for regular consumption, while others should only be eaten sparingly. So which one is in your pantry? Let's break it down. The safest option is skipjack tuna, often labeled simply as tuna on cans. This species is a small fish with a short lifespan of about 2 to 3 years. Since it doesn't have much time to accumulate toxins, its mercury levels remain relatively low, averaging around 0.12 parts per million. If you love eating tuna frequently, this is the best choice. Then there's yellowfin tuna, which is quite different. It grows much larger and lives for 7 to 10 years, meaning it has more time to absorb mercury from the ocean. Because of this, yellowfin contains nearly 3 times more mercury than skipjack, with levels reaching 0.35 parts per million. It's still considered safe, but only in moderation. The highest risk option is albacore tuna. While it might sound premium, this type of tuna has the highest mercury levels, containing up to 0.50 parts per million. That's so concerning that both the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, strongly recommend limiting its consumption. Not all tuna is created equal, and knowing which type you're eating can make a huge difference in how much mercury you're exposing your body to. The next time you reach for a can, check the label carefully. If you eat tuna regularly, stick to skipjack for a safer choice. If you go for yellowfin or albacore, enjoy it in moderation to protect your health. And remember, this is just one of the biggest mistakes people make when eating canned tuna. There are more surprises ahead. so stick with me as I uncover the next ones. Mistake 2. Ignoring the label before buying canned tuna. Imagine this. You're standing in the grocery store scanning the shelves for a can of tuna to toss into your next meal. You grab one without a second thought, assuming all tuna is the same. But here's the truth. That tiny label on the can holds a crucial secret about your health. If you're not reading it carefully, you could be unknowingly choosing a variety loaded with mercury. Here's the deal. If the packaging simply says tuna, you're likely getting skipjack, the safest option with the lowest mercury levels. But if you see terms like light tuna or yellowfin, be cautious. These varieties contain much more of this toxic heavy metal, and eating them too often can pose serious risks over time. Some brands are more upfront and clearly list the exact species of tuna in the ingredients. Taking a few seconds to scan the label can make a world of difference, and if the package isn't giving you answers, a quick check on the manufacturer's website can reveal what type of fish you're really buying. Most major brands provide this information online, so a little research goes a long way. But here's an even smarter approach. Don't rely on tuna alone. Rotate your seafood choices with other low-mercury options. Salmon is packed with brain-boosting omega-3s, sardines are a nutritional powerhouse and surprisingly affordable, mackerel is bursting with essential nutrients and flavor, and trout has a delicate taste with almost no mercury concerns. So next time you reach for a can of tuna, don't let the label be an afterthought. A quick glance could be the difference between a healthy choice and an unnecessary risk. Stay mindful. And let's move on to the next big mistake people make when eating canned tuna. You won't want to miss this one. Mistake 3. Eating too much tuna without tracking your intake. Picture this. You're trying to eat healthy and canned tuna seems like the perfect choice. It's quick, easy, and packed with protein. So you start adding it to your meals, maybe a sandwich here, a salad there, or even straight from the can. But here's the catch. Too much of a good thing can quickly turn into a hidden danger. The problem lies in mercury. This heavy metal doesn't just pass through your system, it builds up over time, staying in your body longer than you'd expect. And the more tuna you eat, the higher your risk of mercury-related health issues. That's why experts, including the United States Dietary Guidelines, suggest limiting seafood intake to about 8 ounces, 227 grams per week. Now, don't get me wrong, tuna has some great benefits. It's an excellent source of omega-3 fatty acids, which are essential for brain function and heart health. But here's where things get tricky. Not all tuna is created equal. Different types contain varying levels of fat and nutrients, which is why reading the label before buying is so important. A little comparison between brands can make a big difference in what you're actually getting. Before we move on, I have something exciting to share. If you love our content and want exclusive perks, consider becoming a channel member. As a member, you'll get early access to new videos, priority replies to your comments, members-only content, special quizzes, polls, and even loyalty badges. Just click the join button and become part of a community that values health and well-being. Your support helps us continue creating high-quality content just for you. Now, let's dive into the next big mistake people make when eating canned tuna. You won't believe how common it is. Mistake 4. Skipping the proper tuna drainage and ending up with a soggy mess. Imagine this. You've just opened a can of tuna, excited to whip up a delicious sandwich or toss it into a fresh salad. But when you mix it in, something goes horribly wrong. Your mayo turns into a runny mess and your salad, more like a sad, watery soup. What happened? You forgot one crucial step, properly draining your tuna. Whether your tuna is packed in water or oil, that extra liquid can make or break your meal. If you don't drain it right, the texture of your dish suffers. Nobody wants a soggy tuna melt or a diluted pasta dish, right? Here's the best way to do it. Place the tuna into a fine mesh strainer over the sink or a bowl, then grab a fork and gently press down to squeeze out every last drop. This method ensures your tuna stays firm and flaky, exactly how it should be. Short on time? Here's a quick trick. Use the can's lid. Instead of fully removing it, keep it partially attached, flip the can upside down over the sink, and press firmly. This technique pushes out the excess liquid without losing a single flake of tuna. Now let's settle an age-old debate. Which is better, tuna in water or tuna in oil? The truth is, fresh tuna is always the best choice, but let's be real, canned tuna is a lifesaver on busy days. So, which one should you go for? Let's break it down in the next section. You might be surprised by the answer. The tuna dilemma, water or oil? Which one's better? Ever stood in the canned seafood aisle staring at the shelves, wondering whether you should grab tuna in water or tuna in oil? It seems like a simple choice, but there's more to it than meets the eye. What if I told you that your decision could affect your mercury exposure? That's right. The answer isn't as straightforward as you might think. Canned tuna, no matter which type, carries some level of metal contamination, aluminum from the can itself and mercury from ocean pollution. But here's where things get interesting. Heavy metals love fat. This means that when tuna is packed in oil, the mercury and other contaminants tend to bind to the oil instead of the fish. So when you drain the oil thoroughly, you're actually discarding a portion of those unwanted toxins. Sounds like a win, right? Now, tuna in water is a different story. Since there's no oil to trap the metals, the mercury stays right in the fish itself. That means when you eat it, you're consuming more mercury directly, not exactly what you want on your plate. Of course, there's another side to this debate. Tuna in oil typically has more calories, but it also provides a higher dose of omega-3s and vitamin D, both of which are essential for heart and brain health. A study published in Public Health Nutrition even pointed out that tuna in water is great for those strictly focused on omega-3 intake, while tuna in oil might be a better choice for people needing a balance of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, which the body can't produce on its own. This makes oil-packed tuna particularly beneficial for individuals with higher fat requirements, such as those with cystic fibrosis. So, what's the final verdict? If your main concern is reducing mercury exposure, well-drained tuna in oil might be the smarter pick. But if you're watching your calories and only care about omega-3s, water-packed tuna is still a solid option. Whatever you choose, reading labels is key. If you see a can labeled simply as tuna, chances are it's skipjack, which has much lower mercury levels compared to yellowfin or albacore. And remember, the goal isn't to stop eating tuna. It's an incredibly nutritious food. Instead, make smarter choices and balance your diet with other low-mercury fish like sardines and salmon. Now that you know the biggest tuna mistakes, they're easy to avoid. So have you ever made any of these slip-ups when buying or eating tuna? Or do you have a creative way to enjoy it? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, type yes below. Also, be sure to check out these two videos we've picked just for you. Thanks for watching and see you next time.